Hey, I'm gonna start this by saying like and subscribe and type in the comments, join the conversation, join the convo. Last week I watched Louis Theroux's Manosphere documentary where he talks to a bunch of, Manosphere influencers and really tries to give this honest depiction of what the Manosphere is. And in my opinion, from what I watched, I don't watch Manosphere content. I barely watch any content actually. But from what I got, the Manosphere seems to be this reaction to a really real problem, but where maybe the solution is worse than the problem. And I think the problem is best summarized by what one of the what one of the fans of the Manosphere said in the documentary. Men are born without any value, and we have to build it. Whereas women are kind of born with their value because pretty is valuable, I guess, for women. And one of the arguments was that nobody was gonna fly this guy out to, Las Vegas or to Italy because he's good looking, but a lot of people would fly girls out just for that. And that argument, because I don't know if being flown out by other people is what your value is, because that already ties it to material things. But that aside, but the problem I think is real. And the problem that, and I said this in one of my previous episodes, that aside from providing, financially and from child rearing or, relationships, society doesn't really assign any other value to men. And the Manosphere caught on this and built this entire stack of, I don't even know really what to call it, self-help slash monetization slash exploitation slash nah a lot of slashes on top of that. And it became a really weird thing where people get sewn up because the problem is real, but the solutions they're being fed don't really help them. And I would say the solutions might just be worse than the problem. So I'm going to pose a potential solution. And I will be honest, I do think there is a societal part of this, a part of this solution that requires, some kind of societal reorientation. But I will focus on the individual, which I think is to know that you have intrinsic value. And I mean this in two ways. So the first way is take a guy, you just won a lot of money, and or you just made a lot of money, you had a windfall come in, and then now all of a sudden you feel like you're valuable, you've made it as a man because you're able to pay your bills, pay other people's bills, take care of your family, all of that good stuff, and now that makes you a man. I would counter argue and say you should check yourself and see that that's just another factor of you that isn't any more important than being able to cook really well for your family or kiss your grandma goodnight. The You're more than your money, and I would argue your money is equally, or the other things you do are equally as important as your money. And I know the counter to that is usually, sure, you're a great cook, but if you had more money, you could hire a better cook. And I'd say that's reductive, and I'd say that misses the point because the fact that you can get a better cook or the fact that you can get another cook doesn't reduce your value as a cook for your family. And it's not the value of you cooking for your family is not the food or the taste of the food. I'd say it's the thought, the love, the fact that it's you that cooked it for your grandma or for your parents. I'd say you'd have to start, instead of looking at that material value, instead of looking at the world as utilitarian, you should start seeing that there are more aspects to you than just the money you provide or how good you are at, having kids or having sex and all of that stuff. The second part is realize that you have intrinsic value. So if you, I think we can take the same instance of the man that just came down on a windfall. That windfall means he just had a lot of money. Is that the only point where he was valuable? So let's rewind. Let's say he got a lot of that money at like 25. Let's rewind to when he was 8 years old. Would you look at that 8-year-old kid and say, hey, bud, you're valueless? Your only value is that 13 years from now, I think I did bad math there, that let's just like 15 years from now, that's really bad math. 17 years from now, let's say, yeah, uh, that would you look at that 8-year-old kid and say, 17 years from now, uh, that your only value right now is that potentially 17 years from now, you're going to make a lot of money? Would you say that to an 8-year-old kid? Or let's rewind 7 more years and you're 1 years old and you just learn how to walk and everybody's around you clapping. Would you walk up to that kid and say, hey kid, you really aren't worth shit right now, but the only reason why you're valuable is because 24 years from now there's a potential of you making a lot of money for us? How does that sound? And that's what we're doing to a lot of ourselves a lot of the time, by saying, or by refusing to allow ourselves be happy or feel worth it when without any money or without having a girlfriend, or without having some kind of relationship. That is what we are essentially doing. We're looking at ourselves and saying you aren't worth shit because you don't have any money. But I call to remind that we have intrinsic value, which means the fact that we are alive, the fact that we exist is part of our value. It's almost as intrinsic as, the concept of human rights. You deserve to live, you're born, so just as much as everybody is, you kind of deserve to live, and no other person should tell you otherwise. Try to look at yourself from your mother's eyes. What did your mother see when she gave birth to you? She probably saw a cute little baby. She saw herself in it. She saw a lot of hard work she put into it. And maybe she also saw a provider, great. But I'm sure she saw more than that. And then think about people that are not able to provide for one reason or the other. I know you can think of people that are, paraplegic or disabled in ways that don't make them financially viable. Are you going to walk up to that person and say, hey kid, you're not worth shit? And I'd say if you're the kind of person that would do that, or you do think they're not worth shit, I think you should do a real inventory and try to find out other aspects of yourself, other ways of which you are actually valuable, and and really take those, even though they're really small. Like you're really good at jokes, or the your coffee server really likes how nice you are to them, or how nice you tip them. Those things are equally as important too. So, in summary, two solutions here that I think we can individually do to recognize the value in ourselves. We're not finding value. Value is intrinsic. We're recognizing it. One is look at the other ways in your life that you are actually good, whether it's sports, whether it's how nice you are with your family, whether it's how creative a smile you have, things that probably aren't monetizable yet, if that's the big thing for you, but things that do put a smile on people's faces, make people a little more comforting, things that people say in passing. Those are equally as valuable too as the money you bring in. Not to say money isn't important. Money solves money problems. That's just a fact. But money doesn't give you the kind of value that you want, really. And the second thing is recognize that you have intrinsic value. And maybe do this thing of walking back to your 8-year-old self, or your 5-year-old self, or your 1-year-old self that couldn't wipe his own bum, peed in diapers, had to be fed all the time. Look at him, look in the eyes, and ask yourself, would you say, hey kid, you have no value, your only value is long term? I don't think people would say that. And that's because I think we have an intrinsic, we know in our hearts. I don't want to get woohoo, but like I think we have an intrinsic understanding that people have intrinsic value. So let me know if you watch this documentary in the comments. Let me know if you like this. Let me know what your points are. Agree, disagree. Join the conversation. Okay. Have a good day. Bye bye.